I used to think marriage was a team sport. Turns out I was the mascot, entertaining, mostly ignored, and easily replaced when the real players wanted to take the field. My name is Nick Fenwick, and I'm 33 years old. I manage IT projects for a mid-sized consulting firm in Boston, which means I spend my days untangling other people's messes and my nights coming home to what I thought was domestic bliss. I've got a sharp eye for details, a dry sense of humor that most people don't appreciate, and apparently the situational awareness of a goldfish when it comes to my personal life. The revelation came on a Tuesday evening in our sleek new condo overlooking the harbor. Erica, my wife of 3 years, had prepared what she called a serious dinner. Takeout from our usual Thai place, but served on the good plates. That should have been my first clue. "Nick, we need to talk," she said, pushing pad thai around her plate without eating. Her perfectly styled blonde hair caught the light from our expensive chandelier, the one she'd insisted we needed to establish our aesthetic. "Sounds ominous," I replied, taking a bite. "Did the homeowners association complain about my parking again?" "It's about Austin. Austin Drake. Her ex from college, now a personal trainer with an Instagram following that somehow qualified him as influencer adjacent in Boston's social media circles. 6'2", perpetually tanned, and possessed of the kind of confidence that comes from never having to debug code at 2 a.m. "What about him?" I asked, though something in my stomach was already shifting. Erica pulled out her phone with the deliberate care of someone defusing a bomb. "I need to show you something. We ran into each other last week at that new gym downtown, and things got complicated." Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. She slid the phone across our dining table. The video was short, maybe 30 seconds, but it told a complete story. Erica and Austin in what looked like a bathroom stall, her hands in his hair, his mouth on hers with the kind of intensity that suggested this wasn't their first reunion. "It was just a kiss?" she said quickly, as if the qualifier mattered. "Well, mostly just a kiss. I felt terrible immediately, and I wanted to be honest with you because our marriage means everything to me." I stared at the phone screen, then at her, then back at the screen. The timestamp showed it was recorded 4 days ago. She'd had 4 days to craft this confession, to choose her words, to set the scene with good plates and dim lighting. "You filmed it?" I said. "What?" "You filmed yourself making out with your ex in a gym bathroom. That's not an accident, Erica. That's not a moment of weakness. That's content creation." Her face went pale beneath her foundation. "It's not what you think. What I think," I interrupted, standing up from the table, "is that you just showed me a preview of coming attractions." I walked to our kitchen drawer and pulled out the envelope I'd been saving for our anniversary next month. 2 first-class tickets to Paris, non-refundable, purchased with money I'd been setting aside for 6 months. I placed them on the table next to her phone. "Thought these were going to be a surprise," I said. "Our belated honeymoon, since we never took one. Funny how timing works." I reached into the same drawer and pulled out a lighter. "Nick, what are you doing?" "Being honest," I said, flicking the lighter to life. "Since we're having an honesty moment." The tickets caught fire beautifully. Expensive paper burns with a satisfying whoosh, and I let them flame completely before dropping the ashes onto her untouched pad thai. $2,000, I said conversationally. "But I guess Austin's worth it." Erica was staring at the smoking remains of our Paris trip with her mouth open. "You're insane. Those were our tickets." "Were they?" "Because I bought them for my wife, and I'm starting to think she doesn't exist anymore." I picked up her phone, still open to the video, and did something that would change everything. I shared it. Not to social media, not to the internet, but to her contacts. All of them. Her friends, her family, her coworkers, her book club, her yoga instructor, her mother. "Nick, no." She lunged for the phone, but I'd already hit send. "Oops," I said, handing it back to her. "Fat fingers. You know how clumsy I am with technology." The phone immediately started buzzing. Text notifications, missed calls, the digital equivalent of a fire alarm. "You just ruined my life," she whispered. "I just shared your truth," I corrected. "Isn't that what you wanted? Honesty?" I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. "I'm going to Jay's bar. When I come back, I expect you to be gone. Take whatever you want from the bedroom, but leave your key. Nick, please, we can work through this." "We could have worked through it 4 days ago," I said, heading for the door, "before you turned it into a movie." The elevator ride down to the lobby felt like the longest 30 seconds of my life. Not because I was having second thoughts, but because I was finally having clear thoughts for the first time in months. All those late nights at the gym, all those girls' trips with Tasha, all those times she'd accused me of being paranoid when I asked questions. Jay's bar was a 10-minute walk through Boston's financial district, past the gleaming towers where people like Erica worked in PR and people like me kept their computers running. The October air was crisp, and I could smell winter coming. "You look like someone who just discovered his lottery ticket was a loser," Jay said when I walked in. He was behind the bar, wiping down glasses with the methodical precision of someone who'd been doing it for 15 years. "Worse," I said, sliding onto my usual stool. "I discovered it was never mine to begin with." Jay poured me a whiskey without asking. He's been my best friend since college, the kind of guy who'll help you move a couch or hide a body with equal enthusiasm and no questions asked. At 34, he's got the cynical wisdom that comes from listening to drunk people's problems every night. "Erica?" he asked. "Erica and Austin. Apparently they've been conducting their own version of reality TV." I told him the whole story, from the dinner confession to the burning tickets to the accidental contactless share. Jay listened without interrupting, occasionally refilling my glass. "So, what's the plan?" he asked when I finished. "Plan? Come on, Nick. I've known you for 15 years. You don't do anything without a plan, especially something like this. You didn't accidentally send that video to her entire contact list. You wanted maximum impact." He was right, of course. Even in my anger, even with my world crashing down, some part of my brain had been calculating. Erica lived for her image, her carefully curated social media presence, her reputation in Boston's young professional scene. Hitting send on that video wasn't just revenge, it was targeted warfare. "I want her to understand what it feels like," I said finally, "to have your private moments become public entertainment, to have people you trust share your worst moments. And Austin? Austin's collateral damage, for now." My phone buzzed with a text from our building's security guard. "Your wife's mother is in the lobby with some guy. They're asking for access to your unit. What should I tell them?" I showed Jay the message. "Looks like the cavalry's arrived," he said. "Looks like round 2 is about to begin," I replied, finishing my whiskey. The walk back to the condo felt different than the walk away from it. My steps were steadier, my mind clearer. I wasn't the same man who'd left an hour ago, and I was starting to realize that maybe that was a good thing. The elevator carried me up to face whatever was waiting in my living room, and for the first time all evening, I was actually looking forward to it. Mrs. Carmichael was sitting on my couch like she owned it, which, given her general approach to life, probably felt natural to her. At 58, Erica's mother had perfected the art of looking perpetually disappointed in everyone around her. Tonight, she'd brought backup, Austin himself, looking significantly less confident than he had in the bathroom video. "Nicholas," Mrs. Carmichael said when I walked in, using the full version of my name like I was 12 years old. "We need to discuss your behavior tonight." "My behavior?" I hung my jacket on the hook by the door, taking my time. "Interesting. Where's Erica?" "She's at my house, crying herself sick over what you've done," Austin said. He was wearing a tight t-shirt that showed off his gym-sculpted arms, but his voice had a nervous edge that hadn't been there in the video. "What I've done," I repeated. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly. I showed up to a dinner my wife prepared, she confessed to making out with her ex and showed me video evidence, and somehow I'm the villain in this story?" "You humiliated her," Mrs. Carmichael snapped. "Do you have any idea how many people saw that video? Her boss called me personally. Her entire book club is talking about it. The woman at our dry cleaner asked me about it." I sat down in the chair across from them, deliberately casual. "That sounds rough, almost like having your private moments shared without your consent." The irony was apparently lost on them. "This isn't the same thing," Austin said. "That video was never supposed to be seen by anyone." "Then why did you film it?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. Mrs. Carmichael stepped in. "The point is, you've damaged Erica's reputation irreparably. She's talking about suing you for emotional distress." "With what money?" I asked. "Because our joint accounts are in my name, and I'm pretty sure her credit cards are maxed out from that wellness retreat she and Austin have been planning." The silence that followed was beautiful. Austin's face went through several interesting color changes, while Mrs. Carmichael's eyes narrowed to slits. "How do you know about that?" Austin asked. "I'm in IT, Austin. I know how to check browser histories, email accounts, and credit card statements. Edo, did you really think I wouldn't notice the charges for a couple's massage package in Vermont? Or the hotel reservation under both your names?" I pulled out my phone and opened a screenshot I'd taken earlier. October 15th through 18th, 4 days, 3 nights, premium suite with a hot tub, charged to the credit card linked to our joint checking account. Mrs. Carmichael snatched the phone from my hands, stared at the screen, then looked at Austin like he'd grown a second head. You were planning to take my daughter on a romantic getaway using her husband's money." "It wasn't like that," Austin stammered. "We were going to pay him back." "When?" I interrupted. "After you convinced her to leave me, after you two rode off into the sunset with half of everything I've worked for." I stood up, walked to my laptop, and opened it on the coffee table. "Since we're being honest tonight, let me show you what else I found." The email thread was 8 messages long, dating back 2 weeks. Erica, Austin, and 3 of her closest friends, including Tasha, discussing the Nick situation and how to manage the transition when she left me. "Look at this one," I said, pointing to the screen. Tasha's suggestion that Erica should document his controlling behavior to help with the divorce proceedings. Or this gem from Austin. "Once you're free of that loser, we can go public with our relationship." Mrs. Carmichael was reading over my shoulder, her face getting redder with each line. Austin had gone completely pale. "This is taken out of context," he said weakly. "What context makes this okay?" Mrs. Carmichael demanded, rounding on him. "You were planning to steal my daughter's husband's money and destroy his reputation?" "We were in love," Austin said, like that explained everything. "You were in love with his bank account," I corrected. "Erica makes decent money, but not enough to fund your lifestyle. The gym membership, the supplements, the photography sessions for your Instagram, that all costs money." I closed the laptop and looked at both of them. "Here's what's going to happen. Austin, you're going to leave my home and never come back. Mrs. Carmichael, you're going to take your daughter back to your house and explain to her that if she wants to play adult games, she gets adult consequences." "You can't just throw away a marriage over one mistake," Mrs. Carmichael said. "One mistake?" I laughed, and it came out harsher than I intended. "This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. They've been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The only mistake was getting caught." My phone buzzed with a notification. Then another. Then a dozen more in rapid succession. "What's happening now?" Austin asked nervously. I checked the screen and couldn't help smiling. "Looks like your ex-girlfriend Liv saw the video. She's been busy on Instagram." Austin's face went white. "What did she post?" "Screenshots, mostly. Your DMs to her from last month, where you were trying to get back together while you were supposedly in love with my wife. Messages where you called Erica a stepping stone and talked about using her connections to grow your fitness business." I showed him the phone. Liv had posted a series of Instagram stories with the caption, "When your ex tries to crawl back while he's using some married woman for money." The screenshots showed Austin's messages in all their manipulative glory. "She's already got 3,000 views," I said conversationally. "Your fitness clients are starting to comment. This one's particularly good. Is this the personal trainer who helps married women with their flexibility?" Austin lunged for my phone, but I pulled it back easily. "Careful, Austin. Assault charges would really complete your week." Mrs. Carmichael was staring at him with undisguised disgust. "You were using my daughter." "It's not that simple," he said desperately. "Yes, I was talking to Liv, but that was before Erica and I reconnected. And yes, I thought her connections might help my business, but that doesn't mean my feelings weren't real." "Your feelings," I said, "are irrelevant. What matters is that you conspired to defraud me. You manipulated my wife, and you filmed your bathroom encounter because you wanted leverage over her." "That's not why we filmed it," Austin protested. "Then why?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Mrs. Carmichael was looking at him like she'd never seen him before. "Get out," she said quietly. "Mrs. Carmichael, get out of this house. Don't call Erica. Don't text her. Don't go near her. If you do, I'll make sure everyone in Boston knows exactly what kind of man you are." Austin looked at me, then at her, then back at me. "This isn't over, Nick." "Yes, it is," I said. "And if you think otherwise, remember that I'm the guy who just turned your life upside down with a few mouse clicks. Imagine what I could do if I really put my mind to it." He left without another word, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Mrs. Carmichael and I sat in silence for a moment. Then she sighed deeply. "I owe you an apology," she said. "You owe me more than that. You owe me the truth about how long you've known." She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Erica's been different for months. Distant, secretive, critical. That doesn't happen overnight, and you've been encouraging her to find herself and explore her options. I heard you on the phone with her last month." Mrs. Carmichael's shoulders sagged. "I thought you were holding her back. She's so vibrant, so full of life, and you're so steady." "Boring, you mean?" "Predictable," she said diplomatically. "I thought she needed excitement." "She needed honesty, from both of us. Instead, she got manipulation from Austin and enabling from you." I walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. Boston looked the same as it had this morning, but everything felt different. "What happens now?" Mrs. Carmichael asked. "Now you take your daughter home and help her figure out how to rebuild her life, because her marriage is over, her reputation is in ruins, and her boyfriend turned out to be a fraud. She's going to need her mother." "And you?" I turned back to face her. "I'm going to make sure this never happens to me again." After she left, I poured myself another whiskey and sat down to assess the damage. My phone was still buzzing with notifications, friends, co-workers, and acquaintances who'd seen the video or heard about it through the social media grapevine. Most were supportive, some were curious, and a few were clearly just looking for gossip. But the most interesting message came from Liv, Austin's ex. A simple DM. "Want to compare notes about what a liar he is?" I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Absolutely." This was far from over. The next morning brought a new reality. I woke up alone in my king-sized bed, made coffee for one, and checked my phone to find that the digital wildfire had spread overnight. Erica's confession video had been shared, screenshotted, and dissected across every social media platform that mattered in Boston's young professional scene. Jay had texted me at 6 a.m., "Dude, you're trending on the Cambridge Singles Facebook group. The T-Wad does a justice for Nick is apparently a thing now." But the message that caught my attention was from Liv. "Meet me at Commonwealth Coffee at 10. I have things to show you that will make your head spin." Commonwealth Coffee was neutral territory, a busy spot in Back Bay where conversations could blend into the ambient noise of espresso machines and laptop keyboards. I arrived early and claimed a corner table, watching the door like I was expecting either salvation or damnation. Liv walked in at exactly 10 o'clock, and I recognized her immediately from Austin's Instagram posts. 27, influencer pretty, with the kind of calculated casualness that suggested she'd spent an hour choosing her effortless outfit. But her eyes held a sharpness that the camera had never captured. "Nick?" she asked, approaching my table. "That's me, the boring husband." She smiled, and it was genuinely warm. Trust me, boring is underrated. Austin's version of exciting nearly destroyed my credit score. She sat down across from me and pulled out her phone. "Before we start, I want you to know that I'm not doing this just to hurt him. I'm doing this because what he did to you and your wife is exactly what he tried to do to me." "What do you mean?" "Austin doesn't date women, he auditions them, he looks for specific qualities, financial stability, social connections, professional success, then he moves in like a parasite." She opened her photo gallery and showed me a screenshot of a text conversation. "This is from when we were dating last year. He's asking me to put his gym membership on my credit card because his was temporarily maxed out." That temporary situation lasted 6 months. The next screenshot was worse. Austin asking her to introduce him to her boss at a marketing firm, claiming he wanted to network, but really angling for free promotional work. "He did the same thing with the girl before me," Liv continued. "Jessica, a real estate agent. He convinced her to let him stage her listings with his workout equipment for photos, then never paid her back for the professional photography." "How many women are we talking about?" "At least 5 that I know of, maybe more. He's got a whole system." She showed me another screenshot, this one from Austin's Notes app. It was a spreadsheet titled Prospects, with columns for name, profession, estimated income, and social media following. Erica's name was at the top, with notes: PR exec, married, divorce potential, connected, husband seems weak. I stared at the screen, feeling something cold settle in my chest. He targeted her specifically. He researched her for weeks before they accidentally ran into each other at that gym. He knew her schedule, her favorite workout classes, even her coffee order. Liv swiped to the next photo, a screenshot of Austin's conversation with someone named Marcus, discussing the best way to document the relationship for insurance purposes. Insurance purposes? Blackmail, Liv said bluntly. If she tried to back out, or if her husband got suspicious, he'd have evidence of the affair to use against her. That bathroom video wasn't spontaneous passion. It was calculated manipulation. I felt like I was seeing the whole picture for the first time. He never loved her. Austin doesn't love anyone but Austin. Your wife was just another mark. She put her phone away and leaned forward. Here's what I'm proposing. We destroy him. Completely. I've got financial records, screenshots, contact information for his other victims. You've got tech skills and motivation. Together, we can make sure he never does this to anyone else. What did you have in mind? Liv's smile turned predatory. Austin's got a big group fitness class tonight at Elite Fitness downtown. 60 people, mostly women, paying premium rates for his exclusive training experience. What if those women knew exactly what kind of man they were paying? You want to crash his class? I want to educate his clients. There's a difference. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I took a personal day and spent it preparing for war. Liv and I met at a print shop in Harvard Square where we created professional-looking flyers with Austin's photo and the headline, "Know Your Trainer." The flyers included screenshots of his messages to multiple women, his prospects spreadsheet, and a QR code linking to a website Liv had created documenting his pattern of financial and emotional manipulation. "Is this legal?" I asked as we stuffed flyers into envelopes. "Absolutely. Everything we're sharing is factual, documented, and relevant to public safety. Austin made this information available when he sent those messages and created those spreadsheets." At 5 o'clock, we drove to Elite Fitness. The gym was a gleaming temple to physical perfection, all chrome and mirrors and motivational slogans. Austin's evening class was held in a private studio on the second floor, accessible through the main gym. "You sure about this?" Liv asked as we approached the building. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." We split up. Liv went to the women's locker room while I headed to the men's. The plan was simple. Place one flyer in each locker, then wait in the parking lot to see what happened. The men's locker room was nearly empty, making my job easy. I slipped a flyer into each locker, my heart pounding with adrenaline. This was so far outside my normal behavior that I felt like I was watching someone else do it. I was closing the last locker when Austin walked in. "Nick?" He stopped short, clearly not expecting to see me. "What are you doing here?" "Working out," I said calmly. "Is that okay with you?" "This is my gym." "Actually, it's Elite Fitness's gym. You just rent space here." I closed my gym bag and headed for the door. "Good luck with your class tonight." "Stay away from me," Austin called after me. "I'm warning you." "Or what?" I turned back to face him. "You'll film me in a bathroom stall?" His face went red, but before he could respond, other men started entering the locker room. I left him standing there, knowing that in about 10 minutes, those men would be reading about his extracurricular activities. Liv was already in the parking lot when I got there, practically vibrating with excitement. "The women's locker room is buzzing," she said. "I heard at least 3 conversations about the flyers before I left." We didn't have to wait long. Austin's class was supposed to start at 6:30, but by 6:45, we could see him through the studio windows, gesticulating wildly at a room that was maybe half full. Several women were holding our flyers, and their body language suggested they were not happy. At 7 o'clock, Austin stormed out of the building and headed straight for his car, a leased BMW that, according to Liv, was probably paid for by one of his previous victims. I was recording with my phone when he spotted us in the parking lot. "You think you're smart," he shouted, marching over. "You think you can destroy my business and get away with it?" "I think I can share factual information about your business practices," I replied, keeping the camera rolling. "That's called transparency." "You ruined my class. Those women pay good money for my training." "Those women deserve to know who they're paying," Liv interjected. "How many of them have you asked for loans, Austin? How many have you convinced to invest in your business ventures?" Austin's face was getting redder by the second. "You're both crazy. Erica was right about you, Nick. She said you were controlling and paranoid." "Erica said a lot of things. Most of them were lies." I kept the camera steady on his face. "But here's something that's not a lie. Your reputation in this city is finished. Every gym, every potential client, every woman you might try to manipulate, they're all going to know exactly who you are. You can't prove any of that stuff in the flyers." "I don't have to prove it," I said. "You already did that when you sent those messages and created that spreadsheet. I'm just making sure the information reaches the right people." Austin looked like he wanted to hit me, but the parking lot was full of people leaving the gym, and several were clearly watching our confrontation. Instead, he got in his car and peeled out of the parking space, tires squealing. "Think he's going to call the police?" Liv asked. "And tell them what? That we shared his own messages with his potential victims? That we warned women about his documented pattern of financial manipulation?" I shook my head. Austin's not stupid. He knows he doesn't have legal ground to stand on. My phone buzzed with a text from Jay. "Dude, there's a video of Austin freaking out in a gym parking lot going viral on Twitter. Please tell me you're responsible for this masterpiece." I showed Liv the message. She grinned and pulled out her own phone. "I may have live-streamed that confrontation to my Instagram stories," she admitted. "It's already got 2,000 views." "You're devious. I like that." "You haven't seen Devious yet," she said. "Austin's got a big PR event tomorrow night. Some kind of fitness industry mixer where he's supposed to network with potential investors. Want to guess who just got added to the guest list?" I looked at her with new respect. "How did you manage that?" I used to date a guy who works for the event planning company. He owed me a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where I didn't tell his wife about his gambling problem. Liv's smile was absolutely wicked. Tomorrow night, Austin's going to discover what it feels like when his past catches up with him in front of everyone who matters in his industry. As we drove away from the gym, I realized that somewhere in the last 24 hours, I'd stopped being the victim of this story. I was becoming something else entirely, and I wasn't sure if that should worry me or excite me. Probably both. The fitness industry mixer was being held at the Seaport Hotel, one of those gleaming waterfront venues that Boston uses to convince people it's more sophisticated than it actually is. The event was called Wellness Warriors, Building Tomorrow's Fitness Empire, which sounded like something Austin would love, all flash and networking opportunities with minimal substance. Liv had managed to get us both on the guest list under fake names. I was David Chen, Wellness Technology Consultant, while she was Amanda Foster, Lifestyle Brand Strategist. The names were generic enough to blend in, but professional enough to get us past the door. "Remember," Liv said as we approached the hotel entrance, "we're not here to cause a scene. We're here to have quiet, informative conversations with Austin's potential business partners. And if Austin recognizes us, then we're two professionals attending an industry event, just like him. He doesn't own the fitness world." The event was exactly what I'd expected. 200 people in expensive athleisure wear, drinking overpriced cocktails and talking about disrupting the wellness space. Austin was easy to spot. He'd positioned himself near the registration table, working the crowd with the kind of aggressive charm that probably worked better in smaller groups. I watched him for a few minutes, studying his approach. He had a system. Identify someone who looked successful, approach with a compliment about their energy or presence, then pivot into talking about his revolutionary training methodology and his plans to scale his impact. "He's good at this," I admitted to Liv. "He's had practice. Watch, he's about to ask that woman in the red dress for her business card." Sure enough, Austin was pulling out his phone, probably to connect with her on LinkedIn immediately. The woman looked flattered by his attention. "That's Jennifer Walsh," Liv said quietly. "She owns 3 yoga studios and just sold her meditation app for 7 figures. Austin's been trying to get a meeting with her for months." "How do you know all this?" "I follow the Boston wellness scene. Know your enemy, right?" We split up to work the room. My job was to identify Austin's targets, the people he was most interested in impressing, while Liv positioned herself to have accidental conversations with them. I was nursing a craft beer and eavesdropping on Austin's conversation with a venture capitalist when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me in the hotel bar in 10 minutes. Erica." I showed the message to Liv, who had appeared at my elbow. "Trap?" she asked. "Probably, but I'm curious." The hotel bar was connected to the main event space, but separated by glass doors, creating a quieter environment for more serious conversations. Erica was sitting at a corner table, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect appearance was slightly off. Hair not quite as styled, makeup not quite as flawless. "Thank you for coming," she said when I sat down across from her. "This should be interesting." "Nick, I need you to stop." "Stop what?" "This campaign against Austin. The flyers, the social media posts, the harassment. It needs to end." I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. "Harassment? You know what you're doing. You're trying to destroy his business, his reputation, his entire life. And for what? Revenge?" "Justice," I corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a man who can't accept that his marriage is over." That stung, probably because there was a grain of truth in it. My marriage was over the moment you decided to start filming yourself with other men. I'm just making sure everyone knows who they're really dealing with. Austin made mistakes, but he's not the monster you're trying to make him out to be." "Mistakes?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots Liv had shared with me. "This is your name on his prospect list, Erica. You were a target from day one. He researched you, planned your meeting, and manipulated you into an affair specifically to gain access to our money and your professional connections." She stared at the screen, her face going pale. "That's not... He wouldn't... He filmed your bathroom encounter for blackmail purposes. He was planning to use it against you if you tried to back out of the relationship or if I got too suspicious." "You're lying." "I'm sharing documented facts, just like I did with your confession video." Erica was quiet for a long moment, staring at the screenshots. When she looked up, her eyes were filled with tears. "Even if that's true," she said quietly, "what you're doing is wrong. You're not just hurting Austin, you're hurting me too. My reputation, my career, my entire life is in ruins because of that video. Your reputation is in ruins because of your choices. I just made sure people knew about them. I made one mistake. You made a series of calculated decisions, I interrupted. You chose to reconnect with Austin. You chose to meet him at that gym. You chose to go into that bathroom with him. You chose to film it. You chose to plan a secret vacation with him using our money. The only thing you didn't choose was getting caught. She was crying now, but I felt no satisfaction in it. If anything, seeing her breakdown made me realize how far I'd traveled from the man I used to be. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want you to stop protecting him. Austin is a predator, and you're helping him find his next victim by defending him." "And then what? You'll forgive me? We'll work things out?" I considered the question seriously. "No, we're done, Erica. We were done the moment you chose him over honesty. But maybe you can prevent him from doing this to someone else." She wiped her eyes with a cocktail napkin. "He says he loves me." "He says a lot of things. Most of them are lies designed to get what he wants." Through the glass doors, I could see Austin working the crowd at the mixer. He was talking to Jennifer Walsh again, gesturing enthusiastically about something. "He's in there right now," I said, trying to convince investors to fund his business. "The same business that's built on manipulating and defrauding women. Are you okay with that?" Erica followed my gaze, watching Austin charm another potential victim. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she said finally. "Believe the evidence. Believe the pattern. Believe the documented proof of what he's done to other women." I stood up from the table. "I'm going back to the mixer. You can come with me and see who Austin really is, or you can go home and keep living in denial. But either way, I'm not stopping until everyone in Boston knows the truth about him." She didn't follow me back into the event space, but I could see her through the glass doors, sitting alone at the table, staring at the screenshots on my phone. The mixer was winding down by the time I rejoined the crowd. Austin had collected an impressive stack of business cards and was looking pleased with himself. He didn't notice me approaching until I was standing right next to him. "Nick?" His voice was tight with controlled anger. "I should have known you'd show up here." "It's a public event, Austin. I have as much right to be here as you do." "What do you want?" "I want to watch you work. You're really good at this. The charm, the enthusiasm, the way you make people feel special. I can see why Erica fell for it. Leave Erica out of this." "Erica is the reason we're having this conversation. Well, Erica and the 5 other women you've manipulated over the past 2 years." Austin's face went red. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know about Jessica, the real estate agent. I know about Liv. I know about the spreadsheet where you ranked women by their financial usefulness. That's private information? Nothing's private once you use it to hurt people." I looked around the room at all the successful, attractive women Austin had been targeting. "How many business cards did you collect tonight? How many new prospects for your list?" "You're insane." "I'm thorough. There's a difference." Austin looked like he wanted to hit me, but we were surrounded by his potential business partners. Instead, he leaned in close and lowered his voice. "This ends now, Nick. Stop following me. Stop harassing my clients. Stop interfering with my business. Or there will be consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind you won't see coming." I smiled and pulled out my phone, showing him that I'd been recording our entire conversation. "Is that a threat, Austin?" Because it sounded like a threat, and now it's documented. His face went white as he realized what had just happened. "You're going to regret this," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The only thing I regret," I said, "is not seeing through you sooner." I walked away, leaving him standing there with his stack of business cards and his empty threats. As I headed for the exit, I passed Jennifer Walsh, who was talking to Liv near the bar. "Fascinating conversation," Jennifer was saying. "I had no idea about any of this background. Thank you for the warning." Liv caught my eye and winked. Mission accomplished. In the hotel lobby, I found Erica waiting by the elevators. "I saw everything," she said quietly. "And? You're right about him. I've been such a fool. What are you going to do about it?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and opened her contacts. "I'm going to call every woman in Austin's phone and warn them," she said. "It's the least I can do." For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt something like respect for my soon-to-be ex-wife. "That's the right thing to do," I said. "It won't fix what I did to you." "No, it won't, but it might prevent him from doing it to someone else." We walked out of the hotel together, not as husband and wife, but as 2 people who had finally seen the truth about someone who had manipulated both of us. It felt like progress. 3 days later, I was working late at my office when Erica called. Nick, we have a problem. We don't have problems anymore, Erica. We have separate problems. Austin's threatening to sue both of us. He says what we did at the mixer constitutes harassment and defamation. His lawyer sent me a cease and desist letter. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the Boston skyline through my office window. What lawyer? Someone named Patricia Tan. She specializes in reputation management and social media law. Patricia Tan. I knew that name. She'd represented several local politicians and business leaders in high-profile scandals. Austin was playing for keeps. What exactly is he claiming? Conspiracy to damage his business, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and something called tortious interference with business relationships. He wants us to publicly apologize, pay damages, and sign agreements promising never to contact his clients or associates again. And if we don't, he'll file a lawsuit seeking monetary damages and injunctive relief. Patricia says he has a strong case because we coordinated our efforts to damage his reputation. I was quiet for a moment, thinking. Austin was smarter than I'd given him credit for. By threatening legal action, he was trying to silence us before we could do any more damage. And he was right that Erica and I had worked together. That coordination could be seen as conspiracy under the right circumstances. Are you going to comply? I asked. I don't know. My mother thinks I should. She says I've caused enough damage already. What do you think? I think Austin is exactly what you said he was, a predator who's trying to intimidate us into silence. But I also think I can't afford a lawsuit right now. I lost my job, remember? That was true. Erica's boss at the PR firm had let her go the day after the video went viral, claiming that her personal situation made her a liability for client relationships. Let me think about this, I said. Don't respond to anything until we talk again. After I hung up, I called Jay. I need a favor, I said when he answered. Shoot. I need you to call Patricia Tan's office and request a consultation. Use a fake name and say you're considering suing someone for defamation. Why? Because I want to know how confident she really is about Austin's case. If she thinks it's a slam dunk, she'll be aggressive about taking new clients. If she has doubts, she'll be more cautious. Jay called me back an hour later. Interesting conversation, he said. I told her I was thinking about suing my ex-business partner for spreading lies about our company. She asked a lot of questions about documentation, evidence, and whether the statements were factual or opinion. And when I described a situation similar to yours, sharing someone's own messages and documented behavior, she got a lot less enthusiastic. She kept emphasizing that truth is an absolute defense against defamation claims. What's your read? She's not as confident as Austin thinks she is. This feels like an intimidation tactic more than a real legal threat. That night, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I drove to Austin's apartment complex in Cambridge, not to confront him, but to observe. I wanted to understand his current situation, his resources, his state of mind. Austin lived in a luxury building near Harvard Square, the kind of place that rented for $4,000 a month for a one-bedroom. His BMW was in the parking garage, along with what looked like a new motorcycle. For someone whose business had supposedly been damaged, he was maintaining an expensive lifestyle. I was sitting in my car, taking notes on his building's security and resident parking, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Nick Fenwick? Speaking. This is Patricia Tan, Austin Drake's attorney. I think we should meet. That was unexpected. About what? About resolving the situation before it gets out of hand. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? I might be. What kind of resolution are we talking about? The kind where everyone walks away without destroying each other. 2 o'clock at my office? I agreed to the meeting, then called Liv. Austin's lawyer wants to meet, I told her. That's either very good or very bad. No middle ground. Any idea which? With Patricia Tan? She doesn't waste time on cases she can't win. If she wants to meet, it's because she thinks Austin's in trouble. The next afternoon, Patricia Tan's office was exactly what I'd expected. Downtown location, expensive furniture, walls covered with framed articles about her high-profile cases. She was younger than I'd anticipated, maybe 45, with the kind of sharp intelligence that made me understand why politicians and CEOs paid her premium rates. Mr. Fenwick, thank you for coming. She gestured to a chair across from her desk. I'll get straight to the point. My client wants this situation to end. What situation would that be? The coordinated campaign to damage his reputation and interfere with his business relationships. You mean sharing factual information about his documented behavior? She smiled, and it wasn't entirely friendly. Let's not play games. You and your wife, working with Austin's former girlfriend, systematically targeted his clients and business associates with information designed to damage his reputation. Information that was true. Truth is a defense against defamation, but it's not a defense against harassment, stalking, or intentional interference with business relationships. I leaned forward in my chair. Are you saying Austin has grounds for those claims? I'm saying that showing up at his workplace, distributing flyers about his personal life, and confronting his business associates could be construed as harassment under Massachusetts law. Could be construed. But you don't think it would be. She was quiet for a moment, studying my face. You're more perceptive than Austin gave you credit for. Austin underestimates a lot of people. It's one of his weaknesses. Here's the situation, Mr. Fenwick. Austin has asked me to pursue aggressive legal action against you and your wife. He wants damages, injunctions, and public apologies. But I've reviewed the evidence, and I don't think he has the case he believes he has. So why are we meeting? Because I think there's a better solution for everyone involved. Austin drops his legal threats, you and your wife agree to stop actively interfering with his business, and everyone moves on with their lives. What about his other victims? The women he's manipulated and defrauded? That's not part of this negotiation. Then there's no deal. Patricia leaned back in her chair. You realize that if this goes to court, even if Austin loses, the legal fees alone could bankrupt you? Maybe, but it would also put all of Austin's behavior on the public record. Every message, every manipulation, every woman he's targeted. Discovery works both ways, doesn't it? She was quiet for a long moment. You've thought this through. I'm in IT. I think everything through. Austin won't like this answer. Austin doesn't like a lot of things. He'll have to learn to cope. I stood up to leave, then turned back. Ms. Tan, can I ask you something off the record? Sure. Do you think Austin is guilty of what we're accusing him of? She considered the question carefully. I think Austin is a young man who's made some poor choices and hurt some people. Whether that rises to the level of criminal behavior or civil liability is a question for the courts. That's a very diplomatic way of saying yes. That's a very legal way of saying I can't comment on my client's guilt or innocence. I left her office feeling more confident than I had in days. Austin was running scared, and his lawyer knew he didn't have a strong case. The question now was what he would do when he realized that intimidation wasn't going to work. I didn't have to wait long for an answer. That evening, I came home to find my condo's front door standing open. Not broken, not forced, just open, like someone had walked in and forgotten to close it behind them. I called building security before going inside. Mr. Fenwick, this is Evans at the front desk. We had some visitors for you earlier. Your wife and a couple of her friends. I let them up since she still has a key. When was this? About 2 hours ago. They left with some boxes and suitcases. I hung up and walked into my condo. It had been systematically cleaned out. Not burglarized. Cleaned out. Erica had taken everything she could carry. Electronics, jewelry, artwork, even kitchen appliances. What she couldn't take, she'd damaged. My laptop screen was cracked, my television had been unplugged and left on the floor, and someone had poured something sticky into my coffee maker. But the real message was waiting for me in the bedroom. Written across my bathroom mirror in what looked like lipstick were the words, "Last warning." I took pictures of everything, then called the police. Officer Martinez was sympathetic, but not particularly helpful. Since she still has a key and you're technically still married, this is more of a civil matter than a criminal one. You could file for a restraining order, but given that you're in the middle of divorce proceedings, what about the vandalism? You'd have to prove she did it intentionally rather than accidentally during the move, and even then, it's probably a misdemeanor property damage case. After he left, I called Liv. They're escalating, I said, describing the scene in my condo. Austin's getting desperate. That's good. Desperate people make mistakes. This doesn't feel like a mistake, and this feels like a declaration of war. Then maybe it's time to stop playing defense and go on the attack. What did you have in mind? I've been doing some research into Austin's finances. Want to guess how he's paying for that expensive apartment and the BMW? I'm afraid to ask. Credit cards, lots of them, all maxed out, all in different names. Different names? Austin Drake, Austin D. Drake, A. Drake, A.D. Drake. He's been opening accounts under variations of his name to get around credit limits and background checks. That's fraud. That's exactly what it is. And I have documentation. I was quiet for a moment, thinking about the implications. How did you get this information? Let's just say I have friends in the financial services industry who don't like seeing women get taken advantage of. What do you want to do with it? I want to make sure Austin understands that if he wants to play dirty, we can play dirtier. Looking around my vandalized condo, I realized that I was past the point of taking the high road. "Set up the meeting," I said. The meeting was set for Friday night at my condo, not because I wanted Austin and Erica in my space again, but because I wanted the confrontation to happen on my terms, in a place where I controlled the environment. I'd spent the week preparing. The damaged items had been repaired or replaced, but I'd kept photographic evidence of everything. I'd also installed additional security cameras, changed the locks, and informed building security that Erica was no longer authorized to access the unit. Liv arrived at 7, carrying a laptop bag and wearing the kind of determined expression that suggested she was ready for war. "You sure about this?" she asked, setting up her laptop on my dining table. "I'm sure that I'm tired of being reactive. It's time to end this." At 7:30, my building's front desk called. "Mr. Fenwick, there are 3 people here to see you. They say they have an appointment." "Send them up." Erica arrived first, looking nervous and avoiding eye contact. Austin was right behind her, radiating the kind of aggressive confidence that suggested he thought he was walking into a negotiation he was going to win. The third person was a surprise. Tasha, Erica's best friend, who I hadn't seen since the whole mess started. "Nick," Austin said, walking into my living room like he owned it. "I'm glad you came to your senses. This has gone on long enough." "It has," I agreed. "Please, sit down, all of you." They arranged themselves on my couch, Austin in the center, Erica to his left, Tasha to his right. It looked like they'd planned their positioning to present a united front. "Before we start," I said, "I want everyone to understand that this conversation is being recorded for my protection." "That's illegal without consent," Tasha said quickly. "Actually, Massachusetts is a 2-party consent state for private conversations. But this is my home, and I'm informing you that recording is taking place. If you don't consent, you're free to leave." None of them moved. "Good. Now, Austin, I understand you wanted to discuss terms for ending our conflict." "It's simple," Austin said. "You and Liv stop interfering with my business, you both sign agreements promising never to contact my clients or associates again, and you publicly apologize for the damage you've caused to my reputation. And in return, I don't sue you for harassment, defamation, and intentional interference with business relationships." I looked at Erica. "And you support this?" "I just want this to be over," she said quietly. "We've all been hurt enough." "Have we?" I turned to Liv, who opened her laptop. "Show them what you found." The laptop screen displayed a spreadsheet with Austin's name at the top and columns for credit card companies, account numbers, credit limits, and outstanding balances. "This is interesting reading," Liv said conversationally. "Austin, you've got 14 different credit cards with a combined debt of over $60,000. But here's the really fascinating part. You opened 6 of these accounts using variations of your name to get around credit checks and debt-to-income ratios." Austin's face went pale. "That's private financial information. How did you get it?" "The same way you got information about your targets," I said. "Research." "This is identity fraud," Tasha said, looking at the screen. "Austin, is this real?" "It's taken out of context," Austin said quickly. "Those are legitimate business expenses." "Business expenses?" Liv clicked to the next screen, showing credit card statements, like the $2,000 dinner at Mistral last month, or the $1,500 shopping spree at Nordstrom, or the $3,000 weekend in Miami. Erica was staring at the laptop screen with growing horror. "Austin, you told me you were financially stable." "I am. This is just temporary cash flow." $60,000 of debt is not temporary cash flow," I interrupted, "and using multiple variations of your name to open accounts is credit fraud." "You can't prove that." Liv clicked to another screen. "Actually, we can. This is an application for a Chase card under the name A. Drake, where you listed your income as $75,000. But this application for a Bank of America card under Austin D. Drake lists your income as $90,000. Both were submitted within 2 weeks of each other." "That's perjury," Tasha said quietly. "Austin, what have you done?" "I haven't done anything illegal," Austin said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Really?" I pulled out my phone and opened a recording app, because I have a conversation from last week where you specifically discuss using different versions of your name to maximize available credit and avoid triggering red flags in the system. Austin lunged for my phone, but I pulled it back easily. "Careful, Austin. That would be assault, and we're being recorded, remember?" He sat back down, breathing heavily. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that if you pursue legal action against me or Liv, we'll make sure this financial information becomes part of the public record. Credit fraud is a federal crime, Austin. The penalties include fines and prison time." You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you the same deal you offered me, mutual assured destruction. You leave us alone, we leave you alone. What about my business? What business? Liv asked. Elite Fitness dropped you after the mixer. Your private clients have been canceling all week. Your Instagram followers are down by 30%. That's because of what you did. That's because of what you did, I corrected. We just made sure people knew about it. Erica was crying now, quiet tears that she was trying to hide. I can't believe I trusted you. Erica, baby, listen to me. Don't. She stood up from the couch. Just don't. I've heard enough lies. She looked at me with something that might have been respect. You were right about him. About everything. I wish I hadn't been. What happens now? Tasha asked. She looked shaken, like she was seeing Austin clearly for the first time. Now Austin goes home and figures out how to pay his debts without defrauding any more women, I said. Erica and I proceed with our divorce like civilized adults, and everyone moves on with their lives. And if I don't agree to these terms, Austin asked, then Liv and I turn this financial information over to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, along with testimony from your previous victims and documentation of your pattern of targeting women for financial manipulation. Austin was quiet for a long moment, staring at the laptop screen. You've destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure people could see it. He stood up slowly, looking defeated for the first time since I'd met him. This isn't over. Yes, it is, I said firmly. It's over because you don't have any more moves to make. You can't intimidate us, you can't sue us, and you can't manipulate us. You're done. Austin looked like he wanted to argue, but Tasha stood up and grabbed his arm. Come on, she said. Let's go. You've caused enough damage. They left without another word, Austin's shoulders slumped in defeat, Tasha guiding him toward the door like he was a child. Erica lingered for a moment. I'm sorry, she said, for all of it. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it. I know you are, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry too. We both deserved better than this. She nodded and headed for the door, then turned back. What you did tonight, exposing him like that. It was brilliant. Ruthless, but brilliant. I learned from the best, I said. You taught me that sometimes you have to burn everything down to see what's really there. After she left, Liv and I sat in my living room, surrounded by the debris of my former life. Think he'll stay away? She asked. He doesn't have a choice. Austin's a predator, but he's not stupid. He knows we have enough evidence to destroy him completely. And Erica? Erica will be fine. She's stronger than she thinks, and she's finally seen Austin for what he really is. Liv closed her laptop and looked around my condo. So what now? Back to your normal life? I considered the question. The truth was, I wasn't sure I wanted my normal life back. The man who had sat down to dinner with his wife a week ago and discovered her betrayal felt like a stranger to me now. I'd become someone harder, more calculating, more willing to fight for what I believed in. I think my normal life is gone, I said finally. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Liv smiled. You know, if you ever get tired of IT work, you'd make a hell of a private investigator. Is that an offer? It's a thought. Boston's full of people like Austin. Predators who think they're smarter than everyone else. Maybe it's time someone showed them they're not. I looked out my window at the city lights, thinking about all the Austin Drakes out there, all the women they were targeting, all the lives they were destroying with their carefully calculated manipulations. You know what? I said. I think you're right. The story ended there, with Austin's empire of lies crumbling around him, Erica finally seeing the truth, and me discovering that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim anymore. I never did go back to my old life. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. But sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something better.